I didn't kill my wife. The Fugitive wasn't just a slick 1,990 seconds thriller. It was a brutal test of endurance, improvisation, and last-minute gambles that could have destroyed the film. From Harrison Ford's on-set injuries to a script that changed daily, chaos lurked behind every frame. Today, we reveal 20 weird facts about The Fugitive, 1993, including a bonus secret even die-hard fans don't know. Stay tuned because the truth is stranger than fiction. Harrison Ford's real injury became part of the film. During the iconic dam escape, Harrison Ford tore a ligament in his leg. Instead of halting production, director Andrew Davis decided to incorporate Ford's limp into the character. It wasn't acting, it was real pain. The camera lingers on Ford stumbling through wet terrain, every grimace authentic. What audiences didn't know is that Ford refused surgery until filming wrapped, fearing production delays. His limp became a character trait, grounding Richard Kimball's desperation in reality. That injury made the performance raw, cementing Ford's image as a gritty, no-nonsense leading man. The famous train crash was real. That spectacular prison bus and train collision wasn't miniature trickery. Warner Brothers bought a real locomotive and crashed it for the scene. The wreckage was so massive that they left it in North Carolina, where it remains a tourist attraction today. Crew members set dozens of cameras to capture the mayhem in one take because there was no do-over. The explosion of steel and debris wasn't Hollywood illusion. It was destruction on an industrial scale, filmed like a war zone. The commitment to practical effects gave The Fugitive its unshakable realism. Tommy Lee Jones hated his big monologue, "I don't care," became a legendary line, but Tommy Lee Jones initially fought against it. He argued that U.S. Marshal Samuel Gerard wouldn't waste words in a chase. Director Andrew Davis convinced him to keep it short, sharp, and dismissive. Ironically, that moment became the defining beat of the movie, showing Gerard's cold pragmatism. Jones later admitted the simplicity was genius, and it helped earn him an Academy Award. Sometimes, what an actor resists turns into career-defining magic. The script was rewritten daily. The Fugitive didn't have a locked script when shooting began. Cast and crew received new pages every morning, often rewritten overnight. Harrison Ford called it controlled chaos. Entire subplots were dropped mid-production, and dialogue was constantly reshaped to fit pacing. What could have been a disaster instead gave the film its breathless, unpredictable rhythm. The tension audiences feel isn't just from the chase, it's from actors improvising under pressure. That rawness, born from uncertainty, gave the movie a sense of danger you can't fake. The film nearly starred Alec Baldwin. Before Harrison Ford signed on, the studio seriously considered Alec Baldwin for Richard Kimball. Baldwin, hot off The Hunt for Red October, was deemed too young and not quite sympathetic enough. Ford's reputation for playing flawed but moral heroes made him the better fit. This casting change altered everything: the gravitas, the audience empathy, and the box office power. With Baldwin, The Fugitive might have been stylish but cold. With Ford, it became human, desperate, and unforgettable. The famous dam jump wasn't all Harrison Ford. The hair-raising leap off the Cheoah Dam is one of the most unforgettable shots in 90 seconds cinema. But here's the twist: Harrison Ford did climb onto the edge and perform part of the stunt, yet the actual jump was a combination of stunt work and visual trickery. The water drop was far too dangerous for a single take with Ford. Instead, editors spliced together shots of Ford, a stunt double, and a dummy plummeting into the roaring waters. The chilling splash was achieved by filming in controlled environments and then cutting it seamlessly with real dam footage. What audiences didn't know is that the roar of the dam drowned out dialogue on set, forcing ADR sessions later. That jump remains terrifying precisely because it's a patchwork of real risk and movie magic. Real doctors trained Harrison Ford. To play Dr. Richard Kimball convincingly, Ford shadowed actual surgeons at Chicago hospitals. He observed cardiac procedures and picked up medical jargon to deliver with confidence. The surgical scenes at the beginning weren't props, they used real medical equipment, and Ford learned how to handle it authentically. What audiences didn't notice: Ford scrubs in, adjusts instruments, and preps for surgery exactly as a professional would. His insistence on accuracy gave the movie a clinical edge. For a story rooted in science, justice, and credibility, Ford's prep work grounded the role in truth. His calm, methodical gestures in the operating room stand in sharp contrast to the chaos of Kimball's life afterward, heightening the tragedy. Improvised dialogue, changed key scenes. Some of the film's most memorable lines weren't scripted. Jones, notorious for hating overwritten dialogue, often trimmed lines into curt phrases. The now famous "I don't bargain" and "that doghouse is on fire" came directly from his improvisation. Harrison Ford, too, shaped the tone by playing Kimball as more subdued than written. Instead of shouting constantly, he leaned into silence and weary stares. What audiences didn't realize is that the improvisation gave the characters distinct rhythms: Gerard's clipped authority versus Kimball's restrained desperation. It wasn't just chase and capture, it was a battle of personality styles forged in the moment. The hospital escape was shot guerrilla style. Remember the tense sequence where Kimball shaves his beard and blends in among doctors at a hospital? That scene was filmed with minimal permits and actual hospital staff as extras. Andrew Davis rushed the crew through real hallways to capture the urgency. Some hospital employees on screen didn't even realize they were being filmed. The realism is palpable. Kimball doesn't look like an actor in a set, but a man truly lost in a working hospital. The tight camera angles came from necessity, as crew had to avoid interrupting real medical operations. That edge of chaos approach made audiences feel like they were witnessing a live escape, not a staged thriller. Tommy Lee Jones almost quit the film. Halfway through production, Tommy Lee Jones clashed with producers over how much screen time his character should have. Initially, Gerard was meant to be a secondary figure, but Jones saw the potential for him to become a co-lead. The producers resisted, fearing it would distract from Ford. Jones threatened to walk. In the end, director Andrew Davis sided with Jones, giving Gerard sharper lines and more focus. The gamble paid off. Jones not only stole scenes but won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. And here's where I stop and say go ahead and like and subscribe, because just like Gerard chasing Kimball, we're only halfway through this pursuit of secrets. The film was shot almost entirely in Chicago. Unlike many Hollywood thrillers that fake locations, The Fugitive stayed true to its Chicago roots. Director Andrew Davis, a Chicago native, insisted on using the city as more than just a backdrop. It became a character in the story. From Union Station to the Chicago Hilton, the film brims with authentic landmarks. Shooting on location meant battling freezing winds, snarled traffic, and skeptical city officials. What audiences didn't know is that some chase sequences were filmed guerrilla style, with crew racing through real downtown streets during rush hour. The gritty texture of Chicago, its elevated trains, damp alleys, and looming skyscrapers added authenticity you simply can't build on a soundstage. It wasn't just a setting, it was Kimball's maze of survival. The Marshals were based on real agents. Tommy Lee Jones' U.S. Marshal character, Samuel Gerard, wasn't plucked from thin air. Jones and the filmmakers shadowed actual marshals to study their cadence, tactics, and team dynamics. The supporting marshals, played by Joe Pantoliano, Daniel Roebuck, and others, were crafted to reflect real task force interplay. Their casual banter, gallows humor, and relentless pursuit weren't scripted cliches, but drawn from reality. One martial consultant even advised on the chase tactics used in the St. Patrick's Day parade scene. What audiences didn't realize, that breezy, joking camaraderie masked a brutal intensity. The real marshals said, "We may joke, but we never stop hunting." That authenticity gave Gerard's crew the edge of professionals, not movie cops. The parade scene was nearly a disaster. The St. Patrick's Day parade chase, one of the film's most thrilling sequences, almost didn't happen. Andrew Davis wanted the real parade, with thousands of Chicagoans in attendance, but the city was reluctant. At the last moment, they got permission to embed Harrison Ford into the crowd. Ford really marched among unsuspecting spectators while cameras rolled from hidden angles. The tension in that scene wasn't staged. Those were real reactions from people brushing shoulders with a fugitive in disguise. Crew feared losing Ford in the crowd or having extras unknowingly ruin shots, but instead, it produced one of the most visceral sequences in the film. Not fake energy, real chaos. Julianne Moore's role was almost cut entirely. Julianne Moore appears briefly as a doctor who encounters Kimball in the hospital, but her part was originally much bigger. She was meant to have a romantic subplot with Kimball, giving him an ally while on the run. But as shooting evolved, Ford and Davis felt it distracted from the central cat-and-mouse game. Most of Moore's scenes were cut, leaving her with only a handful of lifer lines. Ironically, that tiny role helped launch her film career, catching the attention of casting directors. Sometimes the smallest part leaves the deepest mark, and Moore herself has said the film was a pivotal career break. The final confrontation was changed late in production. The climax inside the laundry facility was originally scripted as a quiet courtroom scene where Kimball exposes the pharmaceutical conspiracy, but producers worried it lacked cinematic punch. Davis reimagined it as a brutal industrial showdown with steam, swinging laundry racks, and flashing lights. Crews rushed to construct the massive set, filming in suffocating heat. The clanging machinery and oppressive atmosphere heightened the paranoia. What audiences didn't know? Many cast members fainted during takes because of the heat and noise. The change transformed the finale into a sweaty, chaotic collision of justice and vengeance, far more visceral than dialogue in a courtroom ever could have been. Harrison Ford refused a stunt double for key scenes. Ford's reputation for doing his own stunts wasn't just talk. He doubled down on the fugitive. In the subway chase, where Kimball barely escapes a speeding train, Ford insisted on performing the dangerous close-quarter movements himself. Crew members begged him to step aside for safety, but Ford argued that the audience would notice the difference. His stubbornness gave the film raw authenticity. What audiences didn't realize is that Ford's near misses with train cars weren't exaggerated with camera tricks. They were perilously close calls. His sweat wasn't makeup, and his heavy breathing wasn't faked. It was adrenaline on film. The villain's casting came down to chemistry. Jerome Crabbe, who played Dr. Charles Nichols, wasn't the studio's first choice for the duplicitous friend-turned-villain. Several American actors were considered, but Davis wanted someone with a cultured, urbane presence that would mask the betrayal. Crabbe's natural charm made the reveal all the more devastating. On set, Ford reportedly encouraged him to play Nichols, not as a mustache-twirling villain, but as a calm manipulator who believed he was justified. The chemistry between the two actors sold the betrayal. Audiences trusted Nichols until the final act. The twist hit harder because the casting was unexpected. The editing room saved the movie. The first cut of The Fugitive ran nearly 3 hours, bogged down by subplots and lengthy dialogue scenes. Test audiences grew restless, and Warner Brothers panicked. Editor Dov Honig slashed entire sequences, tightening the film to just over 2 hours. The leaner version crackled with energy, turning what could have been a sluggish courtroom drama into a relentless chase. What audiences didn't know is that some of their favorite moments, the damn jump, the one-liners, were almost lost in the shuffle. Hoenig's cuts not only saved the pacing but also secured an Oscar nomination for Best Film Editing, a surprise box office titan. When released in 1993, The Fugitive wasn't expected to dominate the box office. Warner Brothers considered it a mid-budget thriller with modest prospects. But strong word of mouth and critical acclaim turned it into a juggernaut, grossing over $368 million worldwide. What audiences didn't realize is that it became the third highest-grossing film of the year, outpacing action blockbusters with far bigger marketing campaigns. The combination of Ford's star power and Jones's breakout role proved unstoppable. It wasn't marketed as a franchise starter, yet it spawned a spin-off, U.S. Marshals 1998, cementing its cultural impact. An Oscar-nominated thriller against all odds, few expected The Fugitive to become an Oscar contender. Action thrillers were rarely recognized by the Academy, yet the film scored 7 nominations, including Best Picture, a nearly unheard-of feat for its genre. Tommy Lee Jones took home the statue for Best Supporting Actor, while critics praised the blend of intelligence and tension. What audiences didn't realize is that the Academy had debated excluding it from Best Picture consideration, claiming it was too commercial. Instead, it stood alongside prestige dramas, proving that a cat-and-mouse thriller could carry both box office clout and critical respect. A hidden cameo from a future star buried in the hospital scenes is a blink and you miss it cameo. A young Jane Lynch plays Dr. Anne Eastman, who helps Kimball piece together clues about the pharmaceutical conspiracy. At the time, Lynch was virtually unknown, but her small role became a stepping stone toward her future career in film and television. Fans watching decades later were stunned to realize that the actress who would go on to fame in Best in Show and Glee had a part in The Fugitive. It's a secret legacy woven into the fabric of the film. The Fugitive wasn't just a chase movie. It was a collision of grit, improvisation, and near disasters that somehow fused into cinematic lightning. From Ford's injuries to real train wrecks, from rewrites on the fly to award-winning performances, the film survives as proof that chaos can produce brilliance. Hit that like button, subscribe for more secrets, and remember, justice, like truth, is always worth the chase.